Hello, folks. Doggone John here. How's it going, y'all? Are you having a good Valentine's Day? Hopefully so, right? I'm looking forward to spending some time with my wife here at the end of the day when she gets back from work. So, anyway, let's get into the video at hand and what I'm talking about. I am doing a blade review, knife review, for a Vosteed. This is the Vosteed Raccoon, it's called. Give you a good look at it quick. All right, so full disclaimer. They reached out to me to review this knife. So that includes a free demo here that they sent me, shipping everything. So I'm just getting that out of the way. They asked me to do this review. I'm still going to stay as unbiased as I possibly can with this knife. Although I will say there's actually not much to complain about for the price point. So let's get into that first, all right? So I wrote some things down so I don't forget either. So starting out, my first experience with it, the packaging was nice. The packaging was really nice, actually. They sent it to me in a soft shell taco style, like the Civivis are also. It had a cleaning cloth. It had extra Omega springs. It had like a Velcro patch or something on the front of it. There was a little spot on the taco, and I guess you can swap it out and put different patches on there if you want to. So overall, packaging was nice. The blade came oiled right from the packaging. It was also screaming sharp, like lightsaber sharp. So I was able to do like curve cuts in paper, no problem, right from the packaging. So that was a nice thing, a nice, I guess you would say, like, surprise, because I'm not used to it with a ton of makers and big knife brands. A lot of the time, they'll come sharp, not quite as intense as I would expect, though, from some of them. Anyway, so I did a little bit of a walk around on it. First thing, it had zero blade play in it. Because of the fact it's using a crossbar lock. So it's a similar system. Well, it's the exact same system pretty much as the Axis lock on a Benchmade. It's just their version of it. It closes up on a different part of the blade's like tang in the pivot pivot section. So if you watch this here, it locks up in there. It's a similar style overall, not much different. It's running on caged ceramic ball bearings in the pivot system, so it is very easy. The action is nice and smooth. You won't ever really have an issue with that, I don't think. It's very easy to flip open and shut, and the lock is consistent. Also, you don't have any kind of like breakup in there or anything. I mean, you can get like a bad close like that sometimes, but that's fidgeting stuff, which really doesn't count. So I will say that the steel is run at a pretty nice heat treat. It's run at 60 HRC plus or minus 2, they advertise, and I think that even for Sandvik 14 C28N, that is pretty impressive, actually. It's a higher heat treat, I think, than most companies would use for that steel. Don't quote me on that, though. I'm no steel expert. If you need some advice on that, go talk to Erica's EDC. She will break it down. I'm sure she knows what's up with that. But from my knowledge, I believe that that's pretty impressive. And the steel itself is not a slouch. You know, I've had stuff like this before. I had a Civivi SoCoke that used the same steel as this, and I usually could get a week or two of cutting and doing whatever I needed to do on the daily. No issue with that steel. It always held up for me. I didn't have to like constantly sharpen it. I would mainly like run it on a stone, a really fine stone, like 8,000 grit or something like that. This is before I had a strop. and it'll come right back for you, and it'll be screaming sharp. It's usually on a thinner blade style too, I've seen most of the time, and this is a really stock excuse me, stocky style of blade. You can kind of see it there. It's pretty thick. I mean, you can get some stuff done with that. The tip even there is reasonably thick too. So it's got the jimping on the top there also. I don't find it to be quite as useful for typical jimping. It's very, very, very light. I don't know if I can even focus on it. Probably not. But let me see if I can try it again. So I don't know if you can kind of see that or not, but it's very, very lightly jimped. That's like one downfall I have with it. There's a few things, mostly texture issues, but not much other than that. The clip, I'm pretty sure, is a deep carry clip. It rode in the pants well in my pocket. I wear some thicker Wrangler jeans, and it had a little bit of trouble getting hooked on there. But once it was on, it was good. If you were wearing normal jeans or slacks or whatever, listen to me, I'm like a grandpa. If you got your slacks on, no, it'll be fine for that thinner material. It clips on. It's not very pronounced. You can kind of see it there, but it also didn't tear the pocket up like a lot of my knives do. In the time that I did carry it, it wasn't overly aggressive. So it's in between. I'm kind of unbiased, neutral about the clip at least. It's reversible. You can put it on the other side too. It is not four-way reversible though, which I could see maybe being a downfall for some people. Most people carry tip up anyway, but if there's a fella out there who wants to do tip down, you know, I'm not gonna judge. But if there is a guy, he don't have that option with this, or a gal also. Let's see what else. It's got a lanyard tube in there. I threw a little lanyard on there just for some pizzazz, some style points. I had a piece of scrap leather, so I made that for that. A lot of people like those these days, so you can kind of like trick it out or whatever. The coating on there is it's a stone washed black, I guess, some kind of coating. I don't really feel like it's necessary though. I had a satin version in the Civivi, and it has zero corrosion issues anyway, so I guess it's mainly just for like style, more or less. It's not to coat and use it for like corrosion issues or anything like that. Let's see if there's anything else I'm missing here. One thing I did really like with the crossbar is that they are very pronounced. So I was able to get a really good grip on it, even in my winter gloves at work. I was using my leather gloves that are pretty thick and hard to, they don't have a ton of dexterity, but I was still able to use the knife fully without having any kind of issues. I do have like those kind of problems with like my 940 or the Mini Crooked River. That also, they're very shallow. Here, I'll show you on it actually, because I have it in my pocket. See, it's very shallow in comparison. So I sometimes have a hard time getting a good purchase on that and getting it in. As where with this one, it's very out in the open and you can grab onto it pretty simply, which I liked. I thought that was a nice feature because most of the time it's hard to with the axis locks and stuff. Not always. Depends on your fingers, right? So my main downsides, I will say, to this would probably be, it's a small list, but one, I am not crazy on the G10. I don't really feel like it's a great grip texture wise. If you're going to be doing any kind of like really hard use work, you probably won't be with a $60 budget blade. But if you are, and that's what you got on you, it's a little bit slick. It's similar to a micarta feel. It's just not nearly as deep engraved, or whatever you want to say. I don't know if I can even capture it. I'll try to for you, but It's very light. And the choil here is not a bad grip point by any means. I would rather be back here for sure if I'm going to be using it. I'd rather be back in here for my tasks. But they do have a choke up choil here. I guess you could call it a sharpening choil as well, because there's no way you're going to touch that when you're sharpening. But I find it a little bit sketchy as far as a grip point. One slip and you're up the blade and you slice your fingers open. So that's one thing I'm not crazy about. I think they could probably just do, I don't know, a different grind maybe. I'm not sure. But there's room for adjustments, I guess. They also have a button lock version too of this, I wanted to say. They have a button lock. I didn't try that version. And that comes in micarta with a typical stainless or satin finish on the blade, I think. Those are pretty nice models. I'm not super crazy about the white and black. Kind of feels like I got a Stormtrooper knife, which, whatever. But it's pretty cool overall. I think for 60 bucks, it's a pretty decent budget blade. It gives you kind of an entry-level feel to premium knives like Benchmade's Axis Lock and similar styles of locking mechanisms. The steel's decent. I think they could probably use something a little tougher, maybe, if they're going to use such a thick blade stock. You know, I mean, it's pretty decent. It's thicker than most of mine, I'll say that. Most of my knives are a lot thinner in this category. But, yeah, I think they could probably use like a tool steel maybe would be a better option. I'm not sure. But, you know, like I say, for the price point, it's not bad. Definitely not bad. Yeah, I think that's basically it. I got my leather supplies in today also that I've been waiting on. So I'm going to spend the next day probably pumping out some slips. I'm looking at doing 3 of one design, 3 of another. So something probably like a little bit more pizzazz on there, something a little bit more plain. I'll try to do some different sizes probably. I'm going to go more or less like something larger size to something smaller, like Sadi to Trapper kind of area. That's at least my plan right now. I'm thinking about doing a maker's mark on there. I have the capability to do that. I just haven't come up with one yet. So, yeah. Let me get your thoughts and input. Let me know what you think about the Vosteed Raccoon. Let me know if you think I should do a maker's mark or if I should just do something more plain Jane for my slips. Any other ideas? I'm open to hear them all. So, yeah. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe. Thanks for hanging out. This is a pretty long one, but I wanted to get this out and kind of show off this blade here. Yeah. So, have a good Valentine's Day. If I don't see y'all this weekend, have a good weekend. I'll talk to y'all soon. Doggone out.